Hey there guys, it's Tony here from Barlow Roots. Just wanted to do a quick check-in video here on our garden. It's a beautiful day in early November. We've been super spoiled here in Wisconsin with the weather. Temperatures have been unseasonably warm. I think it's 60 degrees again out here today. So we've had a lot of good time in the garden. Typically we'd be dealing with near freezing temperatures right now. So we've been able to get some work done in the garden. What I want to talk to you about today is the back-to-eating garden system, why it didn't work for us, and what we're going to be doing next year in the garden. So 2 years ago we implemented the back-to-eating garden. I think it probably would have been 2.5 years ago when we started with getting the wood chips, composting the wood chips, things like that. And we gave it a good 2 years, and it just didn't happen. It just didn't work for us. We did a sample after the first year being pretty dismal. We did a little test this last year and planted the same crops at the same time, some in the wood chips, some with a different method, and our wood chip plants just didn't flourish. They just didn't grow. We had tomatoes in a standard method growing 8 to 10 feet tall, bushy, very vigorous. Those same plants were 3 to 4 feet tall with only a couple tomatoes in the wood chips. Our peppers, we planted all our peppers in chips this year. All the peppers were barely hanging on into June. We took some time and raked away all the wood chips from the peppers, away from the plants, and the peppers took off. And we had an awesome year of peppers in the end. It was late. We were harvesting peppers at the very last day when the frost was here, but at least we had peppers, and I don't know that we would have had peppers if we hadn't raked away those wood chips. So I don't know exactly why. I don't know if it was the type of wood chips we had. I know the first year our wood chips maybe weren't decomposed quite enough, and so that may have played into it. This year the wood chips had been sitting a full year to 2 years when we put them down. We did everything we thought we should. We planted them in the soil, not in the chips, and they just didn't grow well. They really suffered until we pulled those wood chips away for most of our plants. So the other big reason we wanted to use wood chips is we're really working hard to garden efficiently, and so we were looking for a way to limit the weeds, and they did okay at that, but by all means it was not successful. The weeds still came up. We still had a lot of grass growing and stuff like that. So we're moving away from the wood chip system. Right now I'm raking away all the wood chips on our beds, and we're gonna pile them up, put them back in the wood chip pile. We still plan to use it in some of our paths and things like that, but we're not gonna be planting into the wood chips. The system we're gonna be converting over to is more of a market garden type of system. And so we're gonna be going with 30-inch wide beds and creating a little more consistency in the garden, where we're gonna have a permanent bed system, 30-inch wide beds, 9 to 10-inch rows, and then all of our beds are gonna be 50 feet long. And we're gonna be using quite a bit of landscape cloth or landscape fabric, and hope to get several years of use out of that. But that's our plan going forward. In the current plan, we were just having a hard time, this being like our 4th year, remembering where we had stuff planted, because it was just kind of chaotic in this great big garden bed. And so with the 30-inch bed system, we should better be able to track where we have stuff planted and where we need to rotate that stuff to next year and what we can plant over the years. So we're hoping that that will really help. Our garden lays out really nicely for this system. We are going to have, based on our measurements now, 12 beds. So we'll have 12 30-inch by 50-foot beds in the garden. And some of them will be running north and south. Some of them will be running east and west based on how the garden's laid out, but I think it's gonna work really well. We're also anxious to get into a little bit better irrigation program. Our irrigating was really helter-skelter over the years. So all in all, we're trying to take this gardening just a little more seriously. We'd like to produce more, and we'd like to have a longer season as well. We had a pretty good sales year, and we're starting to get some word of mouth here at Barlow Roots with the farm stand, so that's exciting. But we think we can expand it. We think we can sell more if we have more. And so that's really our goal. And so taking this to the next step, we're really hoping and really thinking positive that this is going to be a good next step for us. So today's project, I am raking out the wood chips, piling them back on the wood chip pile, and then we're actually going to do a shallow till through the whole bed, just to kind of get us a fresh start. Next step after that will be marking all the beds, and then for this fall, our plan is to cover all the beds with a good bed of leaf and grass mulch, which we have a ton of. And so we're going to be covering all our beds with that mulch. That'll compost down over the winter, and then in the spring we'll pull that back, let our beds start heating up, pull that into the rows to have a little compost in the rows, and the walking paths I should say, and then we'll be able to start planting. So we're hoping to have our beds completely prepped, ready to go for next year. All we'll do next year is add a little bit of compost, maybe some organic fertilizer, and we should be ready to plant and lay down our plastic and get planting into it. So that's the plan. Today is a little bit of grunt work, getting everything prepped, and then looking forward to see how it's all going to lay out. All right, just wrapped up the tilling. Everything looks really good. Next step, one of the big reasons why we wanted to do this step is to help us flatten it out. It had been pretty hilly and not real flat, and so by doing this till, we're able to get deeper, and we should be able to make a flatter bed with the rakes tomorrow. So we're gonna let this dry out. I'll show you quick how it looks. So we're gonna let it dry out overnight, and tomorrow we hope to be in here raking it smooth. Like I said, next step after that's gonna be marking our beds and then getting them really prepped and ready for winter. So good project done today, and we still have another bed, our other bed over here that we're gonna need to do as well. There's still some pepper plants and a couple Brussels sprouts in there that we're gonna pick, and then we'll get that bed rocking and rolling too. And same story over there. We're gonna rake the chips off as best we can, then we're gonna do a till and level it off and then mark beds. We'll get 4 beds on that section, and then this section here we're hoping to get 8 beds. So all right, thanks so much for watching this video here at Barlow Roots. Stay tuned as we go through this transition in the garden. We'll be posting more updates, more videos as well. Thanks for watching.